اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن عليًا ولي الله. عليه الصلاة والسلام. أشهد أن عليًا حجة الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء. تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم، كما قال عز شأنه: كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزم عنه معاصي العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وأروة وثقى فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد أهلكنا القرون من قبلكم لما ظلموا وجاءتهم رسلهم بالبينات وما كانوا ليؤمنوا كذلك نجزي القوم المجرمين صدق الله العلي العظيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I begin by advising myself and all of you to adopt the taqwa of Allah as is the best of provisions. The verse that I chose for today's discussion for this khutbah Jum'ah is from Surah Yunus, verse number 13, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala highlights some important events that can easily be related to our daily lives, especially in the time that we live in. The simple translation of the ayat is as, certainly we destroyed generations before you when they perpetrated wrongs. Their apostles brought them manifest proofs, but they would not have faith. A couple of things before I go on, and then the topic becomes more and more clear, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word zulm over here. Now, of course, when you translate the word zulm as wrongs, sometimes you do not convey the right meaning. And that is the constant struggle that we have as far as the translation of Quran is concerned. That unless I say the word zulm to you, those who understand the istilah of zulm in your own language, you might not feel the same connotation when you translate the word as wrongs, because that has a bigger sphere and multitude of meanings could be under this word wrongs. Therefore, as soon as you hear the word zulm, a couple of things come into your mind. But that's not necessarily what is being meant over here. First of all, zulm is of few types. First type of zulm is that has to do with your i'tiqad, zulm aqidati or i'tiqadi. Meaning what? That has to do with your beliefs. The ayat of Quran, inna shirka la zulmun azim. Indeed, shirk and polytheism is a grave zulm. And therefore, this which has to do with your aqidah of oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you associate a partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what have you done? Zulm. But do we look at that as a zulm? We don't really consider that to be zulm. Although Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala counts shirk to be a zulm as well. It's a part of a zulm, it's a type of a zulm which is belief related. Has to do with your i'tiqad and your aqidah. Other type of zulm that is mentioned in Quran is akhlaqi, ethical zulm. Meaning when Allah talks about israf, wala tusrifu, do not be extravagant in spending, don't waste, don't squander. Things that God has created for you, they are precious gifts. Make sure that you use them properly. Overuse or wasting is definitely condemned, not only by aql, but of course by shariat as well. It's qubh aqli, qubh fitri, and qubh shari'i as well. That type of zulm is zulm akhlaqi, right? There's no aqidah which is being lost over here. You'll find someone who's believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believes in all of the anbiya, believes in ma'asumeen, yet still wastes things on daily basis. But you'll still call this person to be zalim, not based on the i'tiqad, rather based on the ethics and akhlaqiyat. The third type of zulm is the social zulm. That is the zulm that comes into your mind as soon as you hear the word zulm. When you heard the word zulm right here, injustice, what came to your mind? These powerful people in the past, Fir'aun, Haman, Qarun, Nimrud, all these the Pharaohs of the times of all the prophets, you call them, and the Fir'aun and the Fara'ina of the day, you call them all to be what? Zalimeen. So the moment the word zulm comes in your perspective in this day and age, you don't think about zulm i'tiqadi. You don't think about zulm akhlaqi. Rather, you think about zulm which is social, which is happening in around you. For example, someone usurped someone else's right. Someone, for example, oppressed someone in this part of the world or that part of the world. That is the connotation of zulm that we have sometimes ourselves have limited to, which is fine. There are many types, as I mentioned, and one of them is this type. Which type is being mentioned over here? You'll figure out with the translation that I'll read for you. وَلَقَدْ أَهْلَكْنَا الْقُرُونَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَمَّا ظَلَمُوا. Certainly we destroyed generations before you when they perpetrated zulm. I purposely did not translate the word zulm. I kept it as zulm. Their apostles, anbiya that were sent to them, brought them manifest proofs, but they would not have faith. Thus do we requite the guilty lot. Then we made you successors on the earth after them, that you may observe how you will act. So with that said, you understand now the word zulm which is being used over here probably has to do with the social zulm and the social injustice that was done in the times of the previous anbiya that were sent, which is of course related to our day and age as well, as we see zulm and injustice all around us. Islam is a comprehensive way of life, and morality is one of the cornerstones of Islam. If you take morality out of it, then you got nothing left as far as this skeleton is concerned. Morality is one of the fundamental sources of a nation's strength. If a nation is immoral, and there are examples of immorality of the previous nations, the first nation that comes to your mind of immorality is Qawm Lut. Right away, you should know, you right away will say, because of the act that they used to commit. The immorality of them, which led to, of course, their decline. Islam has established some universal fundamental rights for humanity as a whole, which are to be observed in all circumstances. Regardless of the situation you're in, you say, well, I'm in a certain situation now, I think zulm is okay for me to do. No. This is where it draws a line. To uphold these rights, Islam has provided not only legal safeguards, but also very effective moral system. Sometimes these moral standards that are set by Islam do not let you go out of the boundaries that are set. You might want to go, but the morality that Islam has placed upon you forbids it for you. You might be inclined to join, but the morality is something which is holding you back, right? Kaaba mere piche hai, Kalisa mere aage. Mirza Ghalib said that, should I, Kaaba mere piche hai, Kalisa mere aage, meaning Kaaba was behind me, I could easily go there. Kalisa was in front of me, the church was in front of me, they were both pulling me to each side. What choice do I make? So Islam comes in and sets these boundaries, these moral standards that are set, they keep you from, for example, crossing those limits. Thus, whatever leads to the welfare of the individual or the society and does not oppose any maxims of the religion is morally good and considered to be good in Islam, and whatever is harmful is of course considered to be morally bad in Islam. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So sticking to our discussion of this morality regarding the society that we live in, given its importance in a healthy society, Islam supports morality and matters that lead to it. So anything that is going to further the cause of morality and bring about more and more morality and ward off as much immorality from the society and the community, that is what Islam promotes and wants you to stand up with it. Therefore, the guiding principle for the behavior of a Muslim is virtuous deeds. This term covers all deeds, not only acts of worship. So it's not just namaz, roza, hajj, zakat, khums, amr bil ma'ruf. All of the acts are under this umbrella of the virtuous deeds. The guardian and the judge of all deeds is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not you, not me, not any other individual. So the most fundamental characteristic of a Muslim are piety and humility. A Muslim must be humble with God and as well as with other people. Now, of course, we distinguish between humbleness and humility. Humility is only reserved for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Humbleness is, of course, could be done for Allah and as well as mankind surrounding you. Ayat of Quran says, وَلَا تُصَعِّرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Do not turn your cheek away disdainfully from the people, making such a face that you don't like something which is being done, and so or if you think that you are superior to someone else, that you're going to look in other way, and do not walk exultantly on earth. Why? Inna Allah la yuhibbu kulla mukhtalin fakhur. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love anyone who brags and shows, does not like the swaggering braggart, those who show off and they think that they are superior to other people. Be modest. On the contrary, the ayat continues telling us, don't be like this. You say, well, okay, you tell us a lot, Moulana. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But then tell us, what should we do? Ayat of Quran right away tells you, don't be like these people. And then the very next ayat says, be modest in your bearing and lower your voice. This is how you should be when you're dealing with individuals. So, Muslims must be in control of their passions as well as their desires, lest their passion and desire leads them to become what? Swaggering braggart, as this ayat of Quran says. A Muslim should not be vain or attached to the ephemeral pleasures of this world. While most people allow the material world to fill their hearts, Muslims should keep their hearts away from this material world in their hands. Instead of being attached to the car and the job and the diploma and the bank account and all of those things which become tool for others to make us better people. Sometimes people think these are the things that are making you better. The day when neither wealth nor children will avail, except who comes to Allah with a sound heart, as the ayat of Surah Shu'ara 88 and 89 says. The day when the children will not be of any good, the job of yours will not be of any good, the wealth of you will not be of any good. Only thing that will help you, biqalbin salim, when a person enters in the bargah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a sound heart. How do you attain this sound heart? Of course, ulama akhlaq have spoken a great deal regarding this. So quickly mention few principles of morality in Islam. The discussion so far was open-ended, but now let's just tie some knots. So what are some of the principles that are considered to be the principles of morality in Islam? Again, we will use the ayat of Quran to help us guide in this way with a loud Nare Salawat. In fact, you don't need the entire Quran to understand the morality. That's the beauty of Quran. That's the miraculous aspect of this book. People write books, volumes and volumes, in order to prove one or two theories. Quran, sometimes in just merely one ayat, can completely summarize what is expected of you as far as this particular action is concerned. And that's the miraculous aspect of Quran. So you don't need to look any further beyond Surah Baqarah, verse number 177. That's all you need as far as the principles of morality are concerned. God sums up righteousness in verse 177. لَيْسَ الْبِرِّ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. That's how the ayat begins. This is not, piety is not. لَيْسَ الْبِرِّ. Piety is not summarized. أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. that you turned your face in east or west. What was happening? People were turning in the direction of Baytul Maqdis. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed the Qibla. People are now turning towards Makkatul Mukarramah. Even after all of these years, wherever you live, whichever direction, whichever part of the world you live, you face the direction of Kaaba, and that's how you pray. Allah says, لَيْسَ الْبِرْ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. Bir and righteousness is not hidden in the fact that you face in east or west. And then you could actually broaden the spectrum over here. I have limited to, for example, this ibadat of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facing east or west, right? That's how at least I have derived from it. But you can take this to any other extent that you want. That whether we focus on the West and the Western morals and the Western advancement, or we focus on the East and their, for example, culture and the good stuff that exists over here. So you have East and West, North and South, you can include that as well, but East and West encompasses everything, all of mankind and all of humanity. Allah says, لَيْسَ الْبِرْ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. It does not matter in which direction you turn your face to. That is not the criteria for piety and righteousness. Rather, piety is personified by those who have faith in Allah, those who believe in the last day, those who believe in the angels, those who believe in the books, those who believe in the prophets, those who give their wealth for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the relatives, to the orphans, to the needy, to the traveler, to the beggar, and for the freeing of the slaves, and maintain the prayer and give zakat, and those who fulfill their covenants when they pledge themselves, and those who are patient in stress and distress and in the heat of battle. Such are the people who are truthful and who are considered to be pious. This is ayat number 177 of Surah Baqarah. Encompasses all that you need as far as the concept of righteousness and bir is concerned. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Of course, this ayat is an ayat upon which ulama have given Ashra Muharram. They've spoken the entire Ashra of Muharram only on this ayat. That's how long and elaboration could be done as far as this ayat is concerned. I will only give you a few points so that we can summarize it as to what does this ayat say to us. This verse teaches us that the righteousness and piety is based before all else on a true and a sincere faith. Everything else comes after. The first and the foremost thing you need to be faithful. The key to virtue and good conduct is, number one, a strong relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is weak, then you can forget about all the other things that are entailed and comes afterward. He knows the secrets of the heart and the intentions behind all actions. Therefore, a Muslim, especially a Muslim, must be moral in all circumstances. He said, well, unhone to nahi dekha. That person didn't see what we did. So-and-so didn't see us. We were there, but nobody saw us. Nobody saw us. What does that mean? Meaning, if nobody saw you, you could be immoral? No. Alam ya'alam bi anna Allaha yara. That's what differentiates you and I from those who don't believe in the Almighty Allah. That we do not require these mere cameras as far as surveillance is concerned for us to act humanly. That only if the camera's around, we're going to act humanly. We have the surveillance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, you can't get away from that. And I like to give this example just to remember in the tafsir that my late father did of Tafsir Safi when he translated it. And he made this nukta in the Muqaddamah. Those who understand Urdu, you might have come across it and read it. That he said Quran requires a translation every 50 years, let's say. Every 20 years, every 30 years, every 50 years at least, Quran requires a fresh translation. In any language, Urdu, English, whatever language that you speak. There are so many Urdu translations of Quran available, right? You have all these famous translations that you've been using for the past 100 years, passed down. Definitely some of them are phenomenal. But he made a point in his Muqaddimah. He said, there's a new translation needed every at least 50 years. So why? It's the same Quran. You know, Moulana Farman Hussain translated it. That's good enough. You know, Tahir al-Qadri translated it, that is enough. There's Junagadi who translated it, that is enough. Allama Zishan al-Jawadi translated it, that's enough. Sheikh Mohsin Najafi translated it, that's enough. These are 5 Urdu translations that I mentioned for you. In English, you have Arbery, you have Pickthall, you have Sheikh Sarwar, you have Ali Quli Qarai, you have all these other translations, Shakir and Asad Ali and all these other translations. That's enough. You don't need more translations in English or in Urdu or any other language. Quran has been translated. He said, no, made a point. Every 50 years you need to have a new translation. Why? Because the people who lived 50 years ago, when they translated this Quran, their imaginations were limited. With their limited imagination, they translated this book. As the society is progressing intellectually, now there's a fresh translation that is needed. Why? When you translate this Quran with this fresh, mindset, after all the progress that humankind has made, your perspective on the translation of Quran will be much different than those who did 100 years ago. Simple example, before I take too much of your time, simple example. Go check this. Surah Zilzal, last 2 ayat. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَى. I'm sure everybody knows the translation. Whoever does an atom worth of good will see it, will show it to them. Whoever does an atom worth of bad will show it to them. 200 years ago, or Mullah Faiz Kashani, who translated this Quran 300-400 years ago, in the 11th century, when he translated it, there was no concept of television, video recording, this thing going live. There was no DVR or playback devices back then. There was no TV. None of those things existed. But he translated it anyway. That whoever does an atom worth of good, Allah will show it to them. Where? There's no concept of showing back then. There's no TV, there's no VCR, there's no DVD. Well, there's no VCR today either. There's no DVD, there's none of those things that existed back then. Right? VCR sounds like a thing of the 80s that even the younger kids would not know what it is. So with that said, how quickly these things are advancing. With this advancement, this is one example. Now a person is completely able to understand when Allah says, whatever good you have done, we will show it to you on a big screen TV. Whatever bad you have done, we'll show it to you with multiple angle cameras, HD quality. Multiple angles. You've seen a sporting event? How many different angles that they show you one, play? They show it from 5 different angles so you can see clearly, for example, if they're checking for a foul. So you can clearly see if there was a foul committed from various different angles. Guess what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show you from multiple angles as far as His camera crew is concerned. Right? So this ayat was difficult to fathom how many years ago? 100 years ago. But now when you translate this ayat, you can easily understand it. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So number 1 was strong relation with God. Number 2, then it comes to the deeds and the charity to others. Finally, their faith must be firm and should not wane, while they're facing adversity. So morality must be strong to vanquish corruption. And God loves those who are firm and those who are steadfast. And lastly, it makes a point of patience is often the hardest thing for a person to do, but it's the most beautiful when it comes to person's own desires. Patience in front of someone else's aggression towards you might be easy to deal with. Someone else is being aggressive toward you. You can probably deal with that. You'll show patience that, okay, I can't do anything, so I'll just go through with it. But the most difficult of the places to show patience is when you have to deal with your own internal desires. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability to understand the morality that is being spoken of in this ayat number 177 of Surah Baqarah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a tawfiq and ability to be able to act upon it and put it into practice. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us amongst the ma'sumin अलैहिमुस्सलातु वस्सलाम। इन्न अहसनल हदीस व अबलगल मौइज़ा किताबुल्लाह। अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। वल अस्र इन्नल इंसाना लफ़ी खुस्र इल्लल्लज़ीना आमनु व अमिलुस सालिहात व तवासौ बिल हक़्क़ि व तवासौ बिस सब्र। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल्लज़ी ला इलाहा इल्ला हुवल हलीमुल करीम गाफ़िरुद ज़म्बि व क़ाबिलुत तौब व हुवल गफ़ूरुर रहीम। सुब्हान मन सबक़त रहमतुहु ग़ज़ब व बसतल यदैनि बिर्रहमह। सुब्हान मन लम युकल्लिफ़ नफ़्सन इल्ला दूना वस्अहा व अफ़ा अनिस सय्यिआति व लम युजाज़ि बिहा। सुब्हान मन ला यज़्दादु अला मासिल इबादि इल्ला करमन व जूदन व ला कसरतिद दुनूबि इल्ला अफ़वन व सफ़हा। नशहदु अन ला इलाहा इल्ला हुवा लतूफ़ु अलल इबादि बिजूदिही व लवादु बिल मुज़निमीन बिहिल्मिही। व नशहदु अन्न मुहम्मदन नबिय्युहु व हबीबहु सय्यदुल मुरसलीन व शफ़ीउल मुज़निमीन बअसहु रहमतल लिल आलमीन। लक़द अमरकुमुल्लाहु फ़ी मुहकमि किताबिही बिस्सलाति अला नबिय्यिही व हबीबिही फ़क़ाल तालीमन लकुम व तशरीफ़न लिस्सफ़ी। इन्नल्लाह व मलाइकतहु युसल्लूना अलन नबी या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू सल्लु अलैहि व सल्लिमू तस्लीमा। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला सय्यिदिल मुरसलीन व शफ़ीइल मुज़निमीन नबिय्यिना मुहम्मदिन सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि व आलिहि व अला इमामिल मुस्लिमीन व क़ाइदिल ग़ुर्रिल मुहज्जलीन अमीरिल मुअ्मिनीन अली इब्न अबी तालिब सलवातुल्लाहि व सलामुहु अलैहि व अला सय्यिदति निसाइल आलमीन व बदत ख़ातमिन नबिय्यीन सय्यदतिना फ़ातिमा बिन्त रसूलिल्लाह सलवातुल्लाहि अलैहा व अलल हसनिल मुज्तबा व अलल हुसैन शहीद बिकरबला व अली इब्न हुसैन व मुहम्मद इब्न अली व जाफ़र इब्न मुहम्मद व मूसा इब्न जाफ़र व अली इब्न मूसा व मुहम्मद इब्न अली व अली इब्न मुहम्मद व हसन इब्न अली अलैहिमुस्सलातु वस्सलाम। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मौलाना साहिबिज़ ज़मान माहि आसारिल बिदअ व तुग़यान हादिम अबनियत शिर्क व निफ़ाक़ हासिद फ़ुरूल बग़ी व शिक़ाक़ सलवातुल्लाहि व सलामुहु अलैहि व अला आबाइहिल किराम मत्तसलत लयालि वल अय्याम। अल्लाहुम्मा अज्जिल फ़रजा व सहिल मख़रजा वक़्हुल नाज़िरना बिनज़रतिन मिन्ना इलैहि वजअलना मिनल मुस्तशहदीन बैन यदैहि व तफ़द्दल अला उमराइल मुमिनीन बिमज़ीदित तौफ़ीक़ात वज़दियादिल इक़बाल व उलुव्विद दरजात। अल्लाहुम्मा फ़अल बिना मा अंत अहलुहु व ला तफ़अल बिना मा नहनु अहलुहु बिजाहि मुहम्मदिन व आलिहिल मासूमीन सलवातुल्लाहि अलैहिम अजमईन। ذكروا فتنفعوا ذكر إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. Kazim, I turn off the camera from the ladies, please. Astaghfirullah rabbi min kulli dhanbin wa atubu ilayh. Ya muhsinu qad ata'aka al-musii wa anta al-muhsina wa ana al-musii faqad amarta al-muhsina an yatajawaz 'an al-musii fatajawaz 'an qabihi ma indi bi jamili ma indak ya kareem ya Allah. Allahu Akbar. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر ربنا افرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة لابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعيدا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Let's recognize the sponsors for today's Jummah lunch. It is Mr. and Mrs. Murtaza Ali Dina and family. Please recite a Surah Fatiha for their deceased relatives as well as yours. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah, just very quickly, some of the upcoming programs. The weekend is here, so Saturday and Sunday, we have Salatul Fajr. Start your day right at 5 a.m. Salatul Fajr here in Jamaat, after which we have Quran halqa and Quran group, and then we go down for hot breakfast. So you're more than welcome to join us for that tomorrow as well as on Sunday. Next week, next Thursday, inshallah, we will be commemorating the shahadat of our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. For that event, the email will go out, inshallah, on Monday. So do check the email that goes out on weekly basis. Usually the email goes out on Monday morning. We keep very limited, email communication to not spam your already spammed, email boxes. So there's just one email that goes out, unless, of course, there's a big event so that we send out a second email just to emphasize on it. But usually it's just one communication on a weekly basis, which is on Monday morning. So do check it for the announcements that are made. A lot of time people call me personally asking me, Moulana, what time is the program? When is this happening? When is that happening? I'm happy to respond, but if you just check the email, it's usually there. So, inshallah, with that said, email will go out on Monday morning, inshallah, and we will have the announcement for the program. It's with Shab-e-Jummah, so we might start slightly early so that we can accommodate a proper majlis. So, Salam Marsiya majlis followed by the Matamdari, and inshallah, of course, Salatul Maghribain is when the program will end. Most likely, Salatul Maghribain will be around 8:40. Usually our program for Shab-e-Jummah starts at 7:30. We might start 15 minutes ahead of time. So that's, inshallah, going to be next Thursday, along with Shab-e-Jummah program, commemorating the Shahadat of 6th Imam. And then the next Friday, we will have a very important and new initiative that is coming up. Inshallah, we will be having a seniors luncheon. So, it's being held on Friday afternoon so that it could be connected with the Salatul Jum'ah. So those, usually the elderly, are here for Salatul Jum'ah anyway. We request them to stay back. If they need ride, we request their children to arrange for that, for this first event at least, that they can stay back here after Salatul Jum'ah is over. Right after that, inshallah, we'll go down into the basement in the banquet. It'll be a social gathering just with our elderly, just to sit with them, communicate with them. The first session will just be to get to know and maybe listen to a story of our elderly, their experience in the past. It'll definitely serve as a good learning curve for the younger generations, for the struggles that they have gone through, maybe, for example, migrating and coming here and all those things. So encourage even others to join in, but especially our elderly, our seniors. We will call it Seniors Club so that they can be part of this activity, and it will not be too long, but inshallah in future there are plans where we can have further gatherings for that as well. So do keep that in mind. Next Friday, inshallah, we will have that event for seniors right after our Salatul Jummah. Let's conclude by reciting this dua sihat for all of those people who are in need of dua, those who are suffering, struggling, going through difficult time in their life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them out of their difficulty, give them full recovery, whether it's health-wise, whether it's spiritually, financially. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them quick and fast recovery. Let's recite this ayah together. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. اللهم صل. Looking at Dr. Kharazi, so there's another important announcement that we keep on making regarding Sadiq School. Of course, Sadiq School is now fully functional, it's working. We are now looking for up to grade 1. I believe, inshallah, if we can get enough kids, we will start grade 1 as well. We already had for the past 2 years pre-K junior and kindergarten successfully running in the present building that you're sitting in. Upstairs, those Jafriya School, has been utilized properly for that purpose. Now, inshallah, we'll move into our building, which is being built purposely for Sadiq School as well as Jafriya School to accommodate the needs of the growing community. It is highly recommended to you and your family members, your kids, your grandkids, to sign them up, bring them to Sadiq School for state-of-the-art, inshallah, education, not just from the secular aspect, but as well as from the religious aspect, both combined together in this. We're also seeing an uptick in the COVID cases, so it's a request that you continue to follow the protocols of keeping the masks on, social distancing as much as possible, as we are still in the midst of all of this. But inshallah, we have put it past us, and we can move forward with it, continuing to be, it's a difficult task, but nonetheless, we still follow whenever we are together so that we don't pass this disease to anyone else. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر إنه كان توابا الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد كذلك الله ربنا الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام. وأسأله أن يتوب علي توبة عبد ذليل خازٍ فقير باعث مسكين مستكين مستجير لا يملك لنفسه نفعا ولا ضرا ولا موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع ومن قلب لا يخشى ومن علم لا ينفع ومن صلاة لا ترفع ومن دعاء لا يسمع. اللهم إني أسألك اليسر بعد العسر والفرج بعد الكرب والرخاء بعد الشدة. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وتوجزات few lines from Ziyarat al-Jamia. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum ya Nabiyullah, assalamu alaikum ya Amirul Mu'minin, ya Qasim al-Jannati wan-Nar. Assalamu alaikum ya Sayyidina Nisa'al alamin. Assalamu alaikum ya Ahl al-Bayt an-Nubuwwa wa Mawadi ar-Risala wa Mukhtal al-Malaika wa Mahbat al-Wahyi wa Ma'adan ar-Rahma wa Khuzan al-Ilm wa Muntaha al-Hilm wa Usul al-Karam wa Qadat al-Umam wa Awliya an-Niyam wa Nasr al-Abrar wa Daim al-Akhyar wa Sasat al-Ibad wa Arkan al-Bilad wa Abwab al-Iman wa Umana ar-Rahman wa Sulalat al-Nabiyyin wa Safat al-Mursalin wa Itrat akhirat Rabbil Alamin wa Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum al-Huda wa Musabih Dujja wa Ahl wa Alam al-Tuqa wa Zubin Wahaba ulil Hujja wa Kafir al-Wara wa Kafir al-Wara wa Mahras al-Anbiya wa Masal al-Ala wa Dawat al-Husna wa Hujjaj ala ahli dunya wal akhirah wal ula wa Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuh. wa fadl faiduna bi wilayatikum yuslaqul Rizwan wa la man jahada wilayatakum ghazabur Rahman. Assalamu alaikum sahib al-asr wa zaman ya Khalifat ar-Rahman ya Kaabat al-Iman ya Tafsir al-Furqan ya Sharik al-Quran. Assalamu alaikum ya Imam Zamana ajallahu farajak wa sahallallahu marajak wa zahurak wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa